What is that vent for on the other side?
Yeah, the small one's cabin heat, the big one's is your fresh air into your air box. All right. What we can do here, first thing off, is put the front half of your cowl together, and just the prop flange you just took off, go ahead and just eyeball it on here. It's not a critical measurement, but eyeball it to right about where it's centered in there.
And the split is not the center.
That's correct.
Yeah, the split is not the center.
Split is not the center.
So I'm looking from here to here and side to side. That's about right. Oops, until it moved.
T-Lor method?
Yeah,
We need that.
there we go. Yeah, there we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut that out because that's got to fit over the prop flange here. So,
Preferred method of cutting.
Pete and I, we use just regular old tin snips, or real quickly, I can get the. You going to tin snip it?
Yeah.
Okay.
He uses that Dremel now.
Or if you've got a cutoff wheel, your Dremel cutoff wheel, whatever you want, both of them will work.
If that's flexible enough, you're not going to hurt it with
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah, I bought this particular pair of snips when I started to build an RV6 back in 1989. It's still my favorite pair of snips for some reason. Just they're getting a little dull.
Yeah.
Cutting fiberglass doesn't.
True. Fiberglass is about anything in. I've got a brand new improviser kit for Harvey and I think it's unopened.
We can talk to you about that.
Okay.
Mark, there's 3 of them. A short distance is rule and all get the same kit.
Oh, really?
You've got another one of those spin-offs.
Yeah, just remind me next break, we'll go in the metal pile over there and start looking for another one. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead and get this guy out of the way. We don't need him for right now.
You need to sand this?
Eventually, yeah, you want to sand it.
Can be done later because it's
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Sorry, bring that back over here. I want to see something on it real quick. This is something I learned when I was doing mine. We end up putting a donut half on here. Well, you want to talk about the donut first?
Okay. One of the things we tell you to do in the instructions is to make a donut out of 3/4 inch thick chipboard, plywood, whatever you've got. 3/4 of an inch. How do I explain that? The donut goes behind here, and this 3/4 of an inch spacing between the cowl, front of the cowl and the back of the prop flange, when you put the spinner on, gives you about 3/16 of an inch clearance. Gives you the proper clearance between the back edge of the spinner and the cowl. So that's why we're using these things.
So, put it back together again. This is when I was working on mine.
With the carbon adjust.
Let me get a couple of spring clamps.
Yeah.
I'm just putting in a couple of spring clamps to try to help hold this thing together while we do it. All right, that'll help. Now we take the donut. Oh, and the other thing on this, on the prop flange side of the donut, go ahead and chamfer this bit in just a little bit. That way, where'd the prop flange go? That way it fits nice and flush up against the prop flange. Except if it, there we go. That'll help. Yeah, just chamfer the inside so it bends along with this radius there.
See, if you have it the other way, on chamfered edge, then you've got this little
Yeah, that's right.
extra gap there that doesn't fit in nicely.
So, next thing we do, this is my bottom one, is I put the two halves together and I work real hard on a couple of things. One, we want this to run nice and even. At least I did. And the other thing is top to bottom and left to right. Is to see how this best fits on there. Because it's not perfectly round, and you got more distance top to bottom. Now, Don, I want you to take a look at this because this is your plane. But I want you to sit there and decide if that looks good to you.
What are you trying to get, equal distance?
Yeah, I'm trying to get it nice and even up and down, left to right, because this is basically how your prop, well, here we can do it this way.
On the spinner.
Yep. Don's going to get the chrome, or excuse me, this is a polished aluminum spinner. Same thing. You know, this is, it sits a little wide. These sit actually dead on.
That covers everything.
Spot on.
Yeah, spot on. Okay.
Don't say that.
Yep.
Hanging here and
Yeah, you're hanging here off the sides just a little bit. That's just the way the cowling is. So we know that. What we're going to do is get this centered up very nicely the way you like it. And then we're going to trace along the bottom and the top around this.
Looks to me like it needs to go.
Yeah, I can only see one side of it.
Yep. Giving.
Now you're on the bottom.
Okay.
Because you've got a 1/2 inch clearance on the top.
You need to be looking like up here.
Yeah, I can see this side. You can see the other side. You're pretty much centered top to bottom there. And this is something to take your time on.
And if there's any error, cheat the error toward the top, because over time your engine is not going to go up. It will settle maybe a little bit. So if you initially set this right at the top, then after 50 hours on those rubber cushions, you may find it be right in the middle.
Yeah, I set lightnings always high, and they do sag over time.
What you're shooting for is aesthetics when it's parked with no thrust.
Yeah.
Under thrust, it may pick up again.
I mean, we all know people walk around the flight line going, you know, they're staring at your airplane. This is one of the things they see.
But you know, it does. If you have that prop flange tool handy, that'll take care of that.
Yeah, it will.
That's-
Okay.
Fiberglass spinner is 9" against 9", so
I think that's as
that
good
shows
as
a little more often.
Mark it and go.
Yeah, I don't know how good it is.
Hey, let me get, oh, we can use those little screws right there.
Can we take it apart?
Yeah, go ahead and take it apart. Yeah, I forgot I wanted to put those together. Yeah, we just need a couple of them.
Line without all the influence of the.
Got it.
Yeah, we're... Now you're going to put your block back on here using the lines you just traced, and also swing this around so it looks like it's nice and even across the top.
Okay, I can't tell that.
Okay, that's good here. Pete, if you want to...
Go this way.
Okay.
It comes from the inside out.
Yeah, inside out, just drill straight through the
How does that top
cowl.
line look? Are you happy with the top?
It worked first time.
Upside down harder.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So now we've got that. Let's see, we're going to need a couple of spring clamps and some pop
Bushings.
bushings. Yep. Spring clamps. Okay. Let's bring her over here. And the other thing we're going to have to do is comes in and behind, and you're going to have to turn the motor mount. Joggle, the bottom of the joggle is even with the top of the longeron there. Yeah, the bottom of the joggle is even with the top of the longeron.
So you kind of sit on the top of the skin.
Get a picture.
Hold on, let me.
See how that's lining with this edge.
So I need to go down.
No, this is for the camera. Just
Oh,
line it.
okay. I think that's perfect. Is it?
There we go.
Compare.
Yep, that's it. Now that's
Another clamp?
Yeah.
Sharp one.
I do, and let's see here. The other thing we need to worry about is getting this level, and what we do for that is
Measure up off the floor.
measure off the floor.
Yeah.
Simplest.
That might be part of it. That side is higher than the left
Yeah.
side. If we bring the left up, it'll bring that.
Oh, I hate this. What is this? Let's see, 42 5/8. 42 and a half.
You're not vertical.
Oh,
Oh, I'm not vertical. There we go.
That's a little bit more. Bottom towards you a little bit more.
Toward me a little bit
Right
more.
there you go. There you go.
Yeah, it's
Pretty
changed
close,
by
isn't it?
16. It's off by an eighth. It's an eighth high on this side.
let's see what I did there.
This thing's... How are we looking vertical there? No?
You at the bottom.
Toward me?
A little more.
A little more?
Right there.
Okay. That's still an eighth. 42 and 5/8.
Didn't look like it did.
Okay, vertical?
Yep.
A little bit more?
Right there.
It's still a half.
Okay.
Kind of dirty there. We just need to come down a 16th is all it is. There, that plane.
You're measuring here or here?
I'm measuring to the bottom of this flange right here. The bottom of the joggle. So,
Yeah.
there we go.
You-
We'll check those sides.
just for reference, you don't want to measure to up here
That might be
because
different.
when they trim them coming out of the mold, this may be an eighth or a quarter different than that one. Who knows? You know, these guys take it out of the mold and go zip, and but the join line of the cowl is right there, and that's where you need to be measuring to.
Right there.
Actually, we're right on. That's within a 30 seconds or so, and the eye can't see that, and there's...
Okay. Now, I think maybe
Yeah, here's a couple of things to watch out for, and I ran into this with mine, is if you start pulling back on this cowl, this is clamped up here, and it's not going to move backwards. So what you have to be careful for is you're bending it or you're pushing it, and what will happen is, if anything, don't push forward on it, but let it relax and sit naturally. Because if you pull back on it, as soon as you take this donut out, it's going to spring back, it's going to go wherever it wants to. So just kind of let it set naturally. I know it sounds kind of funny, but yeah, see, this one came forward just a touch,
and that one
and this, it seems to,
go back just a touch.
yeah. Okay, go ahead and clamp her right there.
So no pressures.
Yeah, don't force it back or force it forward, because when it does come undone, it will spring wherever it wants to go.
See, the bottom part of the cowl is fairly flexible right in here, and you can take the front of this cowl, instead of being flat across, you can actually make it angle back if you pull on it. Then when you go to fit the top cowl on it, it's not going to look very good. Or when you took the donut out of here, then the middle will come back to its normal place, and you'll have 3/4 of an inch clearance between the spinner and the cowl. So okay.
All right, now take a marker and trace along the aft edge of the cowl. Trace it onto the side of the skin there.
This is probably thinking ahead of where we are, but we're going to want to put that forward top skin back on.
Eventually, yes. When we do the top, we will. Yeah, we can pull this off now. It's no big deal to put it back on either, but. And there we go. All right. Set that over to the side there.
Oh, that did move around.
Okay, what we need to do is draw a line on the cowl, excuse me, on the side skins here, that's 1 inch forward of the rivet line.
That's true.
And then what we're going to do is take the measurement between the two, transfer it over to the cowls, and then that gives us our screw line there. So 1 inch in front of the rivet line. If you guys want to draw a line there.
Most flexible.
Yeah.
Because it was in my head.
Line.
Yeah, what you're looking at is you want the aft edge of the cowl 1/2 inch forward of that rivet line.
Okay.
The other ½ inch is for your rivet, for your your screws in the cowl. That's a ½ inch forward of the trailing edge of the cowl. Does that make sense? You have your rivet line, the trailing edge of the cowl is a ½ inch forward of that, then the screws in the cowl are a ½ inch forward of that. It gives you a little bit of edge distance there.
Now, do you want to?
Okay, now what we're going to do is demonstrate an alternative way to measure this. And let me have that ruler and the Sharpie.
Your choice.
Before you, and to do this, before you even put the cowl on, we're going to establish a reference line relative to the rivet line that puts the firewall on. So what I'm going to do is measure 1 inch aft from the rivet. And again, you can do this vertically or horizontally. It doesn't matter as long as you do it the same on either side. Well, this is pretty easy. You've got your rivets spaced. Well, that one's not quite. Okay.
Pete, let's do that on both sides because that will work better.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that. Hey, Carl, give me a line 1 inch aft because it will work better that way.
Okay. So we've established this reference line 1 inch aft
Run it parallel.
of the center line of the firewall, or the rivet line that rivets the firewall onto the fuselage. We'll put the cowl on and then we'll measure 1.5 inches forward of the reference line, which will give the back edge of the cowl, the trim line, a ½ inch ahead of that rivet line. And then we'll measure another ½ inch for another line. That will be our line for the fasteners that fasten the lower cowl to the skin.
Static.
There we go.
So we need to go through the clamp and level.
It should
Again,
line up
that should have stayed.
The engine should not have turned. And just clamp the little guy right there, Carl.
Yeah, I guess I am on there.
It is. Did it? Lined up barely, but it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's draw 2 lines on here right now. Take and draw a line that's 1.5 inches forward of that line.
Got a marker?
Right here.
Let's
Okay.
1.5 inches and another one at 2 inches. So while you got your mark there, just make 2 marks on the same.
Okay. I noticed when you drew this.
Here, I've got some roll arounds. If somebody wants one, we got a roll around here.
I'll take that.
Carl.
Just
There's 4.
figure-
It's just difficult for me to
okay.
read.
Then we just do a connect the dots.
Yep, connect the dots.
Well, okay.
Yeah, that's safe.
It's the best place. And then actually, Pete, in this application, because
I'm curious about how much variation there is between.
well, the aft, yeah.
All right.
Well, just remember,
Not a critical dimension.
Yeah.
yeah, it's not. And it's however he trimmed it when it came out of the mold.
Yeah.
So
Okay, let me get in here. And
As long as it didn't trim it too short.
let's locate our fasteners here. Now your bottom fastener is going to be right about there. Okay, not critical, pick a point. So it's going to be right about there. And I'm going to just take and measure from there to the joggle. And I have 18.5 inches. Well, if I pull this down,
Well, you
I
guys-
have 19 inches to the joggle. Okay, the first one is going to go an inch below the joggle, so I have 18 inches to work with. Divide that by 3, that means every 6 inches we have a fastener. So you guys with the markers and the ruler measure down 1 inch and then 6 inches, 6 inches, and 6 inches. Make a mark, and we're going to drill some holes, put some clecos in. Let's rethink this. If we want to be an inch up from the skin,
17.
then it's 17 inches. So either got to make our last interval 5 inches or respace the whole thing.
Make it 5 inches, be 16
Well,
inches. That's
Make it 5?
Make it 5.
Okay, make it 5 on the last interval.
Okay, so what are we doing here?
Yeah, just you're doing 6, 6, and then 5.
That should put it
Yeah.
1 inch above the bottom of where the skin goes.
Yeah, so 6, 6.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking that skin went a little farther down
Farther,
there.
yeah.
But, okay. There's a drill. Clecos are right there. Cleco pliers. We can
Yeah, I've got,
start.
there's 1/8 inch drill and copper cleat. Okay, is everything?
Yeah.
Is there any?
Yeah.
Before we drill.
Last chance before
Yeah,
we
Ed,
drill.
hold on just a second.
Are we really balanced on both sides in terms of?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that
Let's
that there's
take
no.
one more look here. This looks to be 42 and 5/8. This looks to be 42 and what the hell is 5/8 on this thing?
That's what.
42, yeah, it's about 42 and 9/16. I don't know that I could get it any closer than that.
I don't think you can measure it.
Yeah, that's what
close.
we're.
I think the. Oh, that's all skin,
Should be Cleco pliers down there somewhere.
In my pocket for those.
One Cleco.
Matter whether you do one on each side and work down, or
I would work, at least work down.
Work down.
But one on each side, it probably doesn't matter.
we are the inside.
We can still do it.
This will be fine.
Yeah, as you're working your way down, make sure you're pulling the cowl nice and tight against the side of the fuselage there. Don, they got you.
I thought it was cow flap.
Go ahead.
Hold on, while it's still flat, go ahead and draw the reference line. Well, I hope it's a 1 inch. It should be.
Well, these are cam locks, so they need a little bit more room maybe than the nut plates. So if we draw our reference line back an inch again, and then forward of that, we'll draw the trim line 1.5 inches forward, and then let's go another inch forward from that for our cam lock line, because those cam lock receptacles take just a little bit more room.
We'll start an inch back. Instead of 1.5 inches and 2, we'll go
1.5 inches and 2.5.
1.5 inches.
Do you know if the top's, is it trimmed longer than the bottom? Let's check
I
that
don't
real
know.
quick.
Let's just
slide that out of the way
set
for
this
just a
here
second.
just to make sure that
Make sure an inch will do it.
we aren't trimmed so long here.
Creating problems.
Whoops.
Oh, it's going to be fine, Pete.
No, that won't be too much trimming.
Oh,
Look at
no,
that.
not at all.
Look how nice that fits there. You're not going to have trim that hardly at all, are you? In fact,
The reference line will be 1 inch back.
Half inch, I believe you said. Half inch back from the rivet line.
No, go an
well,
inch back.
let's
from
go
the rivet
1
line.
inch back
Yeah.
from the rivet line, because there may be some cowls that come out of the mold and they trim them a little bit longer, and you need the reference line to be exposed so you can measure off it once the cowl's on there.
Drawing this line with a lot of references in segments because it's a curve.
So we would prefer 630.
Okay, we would prefer 630 if we can. Yep, okay. Go about 2 inches, because that way nothing up here moves. I guess it won't move anyway. I know when I build lightnings, I build them with 2 inches off the front.
Now, in preparation to put the top cowl on, what we want to do is make sure when we're measuring this that that top cowl doesn't move relative to the bottom cowl. So what I did here was located the spot where we're going to put the first cleco, eventually becoming the most forward cam lock that holds the cowl together. And what I did is I measured 2 inches back from the front and a 1/2 inch up, and that's where that first cleco is going to go. Then after we trim the top cowl, the length of it, then we'll space out 5 clecos along the side here, evenly on each side, and do the halves together. There might have to be a little trimming in that the top cowl might overlap the bottom a little bit, and if our fiberglass guy has trimmed them the way he should, it should overlap that, because we can always trim off, but if we're short we can't add on. So the first thing we'll do then,
What dimension is that first one?
2 inches,
2 inches back
and if it's 2.5 or even 3, I don't think it makes too much difference. So now what we're going to do is somebody get the 1/8 inch drill.
Where's the drill? There it is.
Again, we'll hold this
And what is this, a half?
1/2 inch up. So go ahead and drill that right there. We'll hold that nicely in line so that the front matches up good, and just drill right through there, put a silver cleco in it.
This is your spot.
Yep.
All right.
Now let
same
me-
thing.
What are the specs on this again?
What we're doing is locating the first cleco, and we're measuring 2 inches back from the front of the cowl and a 1/2 inch up. And the reason we go a 1/2 inch up is we have a 1 inch lip here on the joggle, so to make the eventually the cam lock body dead center in the joggle, it's a 1/2 inch up. So we'll hold that nice together right there.
There you go.
Pliers.
And a silver cleco. Okay, now that's going to keep the front of your cowl top to the bottom in place while we operate on the back here. So now we've drawn our reference line on the skin. We want to trim this thing a 1/2 inch ahead of the rivet line for the firewall. So we want to go 1.5 inches forward to this line. And there's a marker there and a ruler there. Half forward of the line that we've drawn. What we're seeing is the edge of that skin is 1 5/8 inches ahead of our line. So done, we can either trim the whole thing up across the top here at 1 5/8 inches, and we get to about this point here, then we come down and match it to our trim line down here, or we can hold on our 1.5 inch line, and I think we would be better to do 1 5/8 inches, because everybody's going to look at this and they're going to reference it off your line of rivets. If we keep an even spacing off the line of rivets, and then from about this point here, we'll just do whatever it takes to line up with our trim line on the bottom cowl.
That's my
John,
preference.
you getting that?
Remark this at 1 5/8 inches, which on my ruler is right about there. 1 5/8 inches. That's probably about as close as we're going to get it.
Government work.
So, what we're going to do is measure this, and that is, well, we'll start with 1/8 of an inch.
So you trim it, you're gonna trim off 1/8
Mhm.
inch then.
Yep. Measure 1/8 of an inch right there, and we're gonna go with a line from here to about there, and this is just a sanding block job essentially.
We're trying to get it to fit into that channel? Is that
Yes,
the game?
yep.
Okay.
We're overlapping the joggle a little in the back,
Okay.
and that was done intentionally.
I'm going from nothing.
Yep.
I don't think it does that, but
Just to take a look, Mark, let's. Okay, we'll bring it over here to the table. Now,
what would you like?
where did my tin snips go?
Put them away.
Okay.
I gotta put away.
Cut this off with the
I locked them.
tin snips, but I'm going to leave the line and a little bit extra on it there.
Because this is an aesthetic edge you want to see.
You see that well enough, John? I can turn this way a little bit more here.
Cut off wheel on the drive.
Or if you have a cutting wheel on a die grinder, that works too, but this makes a lot less dust. Okay, then this is a tool that fiberglass airplane builders will have. It's called a permagrit. This is a 12-inch long permagrit sanding block. Permagrit does great stuff on fiberglass, but you can do it with sandpaper and a sanding block.
Yep.
And we'll just make the as far as I'm going to take that for now.
Yeah, the bottom all set.
We'll trial fit it 3 or 4 or 10 times before we get it just the way Don wants it.
Do the other side now?
Yep, we'll do the other side now. We have a volunteer with a strong, do that line also. You know, leave a 1/16 from the line.
Kind of just left of it?
Joggle joint where it needs to be stiff to hold it. The cleat in the front part there, and see what we see. Maybe a 30-second off yet or something in the final cleanup. Hey, Don,
Yes.
I think we're going to call this good enough now. In your final cleanup before paint, if you took another 30-second off.
And it created a little bit of a
yeah.
beveled edge inside, so it
you make a
comes in
nice
better.
straight edge. Just essentially clean it up a little bit, and you'll be just right.
Okay.
Take it, Ed.
Got it.
All right.
Okay, what we're going to do is measure the distance between the aft hole that we drilled and the front one, and we find it's 34 inches in this case. We're going to have 5 clecos, so if we put one right in the middle at 17 inches, there's our mark. One halfway between that at 7 and
8.5.
8.5. There it is. I was looking at that. At 8.5 inches and one at 25.5 inches. That spaces our 5 clecos out along the side here. And then when we put the cowl on, we will measure a 1/2 inch up from the joggle, and that will be the center of the hole that will eventually become a cleco fastener. For now, we'll do it with the silver, not a cleco, a cam lock fastener. But for now, we'll drill the 3 32 holes and do silver clecos to hold the whole thing together. And that will complete the cowl installation, except for the hardware installing the cam lock bodies and the nut plates and so forth, and we'll get to that after lunch.
Dana should be on her way in a few minutes.
I'm sure my fire won't forward.
Hey, this one's, I don't want to drop it.
I don't want you to drop it either. There we go. Yep.
Not bad.
Yeah, it's going
Just a touch high, and
and-
that engine will settle in nicely, and it'll be just about perfect, I think.
when it's on my airplane, then it will.
All done taking photos. There.
So it's going to hinge in this way. So for this, what we do is we're going to center this in here, and then make. Let's put this. Actually, let's put this back together, Ed. Okay. But we can put this in here, and what you want to do is you're going to trim this flange back in just about a 1/16 of an inch off of this joggle here, because you're going to center out past the joggle, because what you're going to end up doing is centering the hinge right on that joggle line. So you're going to take a little bit off of the front, because you don't want it sticking out like that. You want half and half.
Yeah.
So you're going to take a little bit off the front here of the door, and then half of it out of the cowl. Exactly.
Okay.
So what we can do is, let's see what our width is here. Center it in there and go ahead and mark that.
Mark the width?
Yeah, get in a good spot there and mark the width.
I guess I'm taking for granted you. Okay. Don't want to bring that out here too?
Nah, don't out of the way now. So what we're going to do is just draw a line right about there.
You're about what, an eighth?
Not even quite an eighth. I'm about a 1/16 actually.
Okay.
Half the barrel.
Yeah, so I'm
Half
about a
the barrel.
1/16, right around there. And a particular thing, it's a lot easier to keep on filing away than it is to grow the fiberglass back. So what we need to do is to make this cutout here.
2 points.
2 points. All right, and then we'll trim this out. This just makes life a little bit easier. Much quicker. Where'd our hinge? Yeah, let's. No, actually, I'm not going to use that. I want to see how wide my hinge is here. I'm going to take off. Actually, I'm going to extend this line a little bit more. I'm just opening the door a little bit more. It gives you a little bit more of a handhold anyway. I've got a square tool also. Yeah.
Now, fiberglass, do you put a radius like you do on
Nah, don't have to worry about it. On this particular, I wouldn't. Back in the corner, you could.
like this?
And we can go back in just a little bit more. Get back on there. What you're doing is you're just checking the fit here to make sure, see where that hinge is going to end up. And then you can kind of I'm okay so far. And I think I want to bring this. How's that going to fit right there?
A little bit further, that's fine.
Yeah, just draw.
Calibrated 10 millimeters.
Yeah.
It worked for me.
And we'll go a 1/2 inch in on each side.
See, the line is still falling. If you're right, it's-
Do 1.5, half, half.
see how much better that is?
It's a 3-inch wide hinge. I'm putting three rivets in it. So if somebody wants to drill these 3 out with 1/8 of an inch. That's gonna be pretty close there.
We can take a little bit more on the edge.
Yeah, just a little bit off the corner there, but don't do too much else.
Okay.
Just a little bit off the corner. You wanna get those 3 right there?
So you're figuring to get in underneath and back drill through these.
Mm-hmm. That's what we are going to do.
And we decided there was no need to trap the pin.
Put it back from the back side here, or the underside. There we go, Don. And like I said, you're just looking for left to right, fore and aft, just trying to get this door to set very nicely in here. And cutting out just enough so it sets on the hinge. There we go.
Tape that door once you get it pretty.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. There you go. What we're doing here is we're going to drill the hinge from the bottom side or the underside of the cowl. But we're going to tape the door in place so it doesn't move.
You tape that side too?
No, it'll be fine. That's not going to go anywhere. That's going to be good. All right, let's flip it over. All right.
Put that under it.
Yeah, this table's fine. Well, actually, it'll help. It will help.
What do you want?
What I'd like to do, go ahead and slide it underneath there. Silver Clecos, go ahead and go ahead and drill a hole in there, and then we got the silver Clecos around us. Drill one and then Cleco it and then drill the other. All right.
Probably should have drilled it deeper so there'd been a hole in the block for the Cleco.
That's all right.
But you love when those things launch.
Clecos? Yeah. One last time. But we've got, what, a 32nd of an inch right there. We're pretty much right up against it here. And what's going to happen is once they apply paint or primer and paint and everything else, this is going to rub up against whichever part's not moving. Yep. And it'll start taking the paint off the hinge, and it'll just, I mean, give yourself just a little bit for some paint in there. Yeah, that'll be fine. I just don't want to take too much. I hate a big gap there because it just starts to look ugly after a while.
You're not trained in that thing? You're not trained in that thing? My camera's someplace either in your truck or in the room. I ain't sure where I put it.
Okay. And one day he drilled right through the side into my hand. We had words. We had words about that. He didn't mean to. It was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Yeah, maybe he did. I was new. He didn't know me.
Maybe you have to strictly pull on off.
Yeah. Hey, it's a new guy.
Broke in, that's all.
That Alabama chrome will stop bleeding.
Yeah, it will. There we go. And that's. Now, we provide a single cam lock for the center back here.
I'd rather go one.
Okay. Now I'll let you, when you get home, drill them where you want them and put them in the corners. The things to consider if you go with 2 or any other type of latch is just remember your cam lock body. Where's the hardware kit? Right here. Just think about it because you can get yourself into a corner if you're not careful.
That's where he wants them.
Now, there's a couple of things to think about. If you do drill it in a corner, your screws will be at an angle also.
Okay.
It's an aesthetic thing, and you can see where I made a slight mistake on the lightning, which I won't show you. You just have to find it.
The screw head.
Yeah, the screw head will be at an angle. I did one this way and one that way, and then when I actually put them in, one's going this way and one's going that way. It bothers me to this day. Huh?
These are symmetrical.
They're 90 degrees.
Yeah, what are you complaining about, man? You gotta look at the good side of it.
So you can do that. You can put them right here. You can put them in the corner. Just whatever you. Just remember the length of the width of the ears, the tabs there, when you're working on that. Yeah. The way this works is, I call this the cam lock receptacle or the body, and it's going to go on the back side.
That's the girl.
Yep, that's the female end. And then this is the male end. This is what goes through the top side into the receptacle. And you push down with the spring-loaded clamp or spring there, and then the two little ears go into this little area right in here, and they'll end up in this little saddle right here. We'll do a couple on the lower cowl.
It's still pretty flush then.
On the surface, yeah, these are a domed head. On this, in here in this little package somewhere is an actual countersunk one of these, where it actually is flushed with the top of the cowl here. The other thing you can do, and this is strictly up to you guys, you can get a Hartzell latch. That's a spring-loaded door latch, and also there's a oh goodness. It's a cam lock receptacle. It's like your old Cessnas with the push button. It's spring-loaded also.
You can buy those down at Sun and Fun. If you make it to Sun and Fun.
$5. Yeah.
$5 a piece for those,
Yep.
and $12 a piece for the bigger ones that you have to.
The Hartzell latch.
Hartzell latch.
Yep.
$12 a piece for them. Like big.
So, again, it's whatever you guys want to do. But the kit comes with a single here if you want to go double don. We'll just let you do it when you get home. Also, this is a number, oh gosh. It's a number 6 cam lock. There's a number printed on the head of the cam lock. It'll tell you what the number is. That's the one flush one's right there. Yep. The other downside of the cam lock up here, if you want to look at the downside,
When you flush,
receptacles or all
what do you
the
counter?
they're all the same.
It's the males that vary.
Yeah, the males vary.
What do you countersink it?
You will
here?
countersink the door, yes. And you would counter, actually,
It has
door
to
is
do with the
very
length
thick.
of the screw, and the top is countersunk.
so you've got a lip right there, a very, very small
Come in
lip
different lengths.
that will set on the top here. You can countersink it out to where it sets on
I
that
got
door.
you.
Yeah,
That you're drilling.
You're drilling through
here
the door.
to accommodate
Yeah,
the whole thing.
I'm getting ahead of myself. Wherever you want this, I would take a 3/32 drill, a number 40 drill, drill your piled hole through the door and through the cowl.
Right.
There you've got
That's gonna
now.
be the center.
Yep, and that's going to be the center. Then you can drill your cam lock
Then
body
you
from
use
there.
it to put the bottom in.
Let's go over to your plane and let's do a couple of cam lock bodies, and I'll show you what we're going to do. All right. Though not necessary, this is worth its weight in gold right here. It's a cam lock jig. It comes in 2 different sizes, and you see we've taped off the size so I don't use it because we don't have this size cam locks. We use the small end. But it's very, very simple to use.
ACS, Wix, everybody sells it.
Yeah, this one, I don't know where we got this one from. One of those companies, probably Wix. But it has a centering pin right there. It's 3/32 or number 40. Put that in there, get to where it looks about horizontal. Oh goodness, somebody drilled that one out. Drill the first hole, then flip the jig over because you got 2 pins on that side. Put the 2 pins in. Drill the other hole.
That's a nice tool.
That is very nice. So, and then just work its way back out. When you're working with the fiberglass, one thing I learned is you'll drill the hole, it heats up a little bit, drill goes through just fine, and it cools off and it contracts just a touch. So when you're working with these, sometimes they're a little bit of a pain to get in there. You're doing the right thing. It's just heating and contracting of the fiberglass. So next thing is,
Keep a bowl of water around the reef.
where'd the deburring tool go? It might be on the table, or those 5 3/32 countersunk rivets out of the hardware bag there. So what I'm going to do is take a deburring tool. This one just a 6-sided deburring tool. I'm going to countersink.
Countersinking as opposed to deburring.
Yeah, I'm countersinking
I
here.
know you see people with aluminum
Yeah, that's what we've got. And so what I'm looking for is I'll deburr it, or excuse, now you got me saying deburring, thank you. I will countersink this down so that the head of the rivets can be flush along the flange here in the cowling. Don't go crazy, because if you go too much, you'll actually make your hole bigger and it'll get weaker. Yep. Let's see, that's got an 1/8 on it.
Yeah.
These are small rivets.
Yeah, these are small ribs. Can somebody hand me one silver Cleco and a pair of Cleco pliers? All right. So, before we do this,
We're gonna bore the center.
yep, when you're going, well, you can do it afterwards too. Just have to be careful about it.
Yeah.
All right.
Step drill. Or what?
No, for this part of it, for the receptacle side, it's a 5/16 hole. For the cowl side where the camlock body goes through, it's a 1/4" hole. That helps keep the ears and keeps the camlock in the cowl so they don't go flying all over the place when you take the cowl off. So, my hand drill, and I had a 5/16 inch.
Drill's right there.
Okay. This does for us, these are our cam locks down the sides of the cowl. The cam locks across the top of the cowl, and these screws are screws down the bottom side of the cowling. We just did a simple little block like this. When we're taking the cowl off, we set up on the top here and just set them in there. Now, what I was telling you, the body here is a 5/16 inch hole. The cowl side, or the body side of it, the receptacle side, excuse me, is a 5/16 hole. The body side's a 1/4" hole. I've learned that 1/4" hole is very, very frustrating. So what I do, I just go ahead and drill out to a 5/16, and when I take the cam lock out, I just take the whole cam lock out and put it in here. It just makes my life a lot easier, and I can take this cowl off a lot faster that way. Technically, you're supposed to leave them in there, but they will fall out. And next thing you know, you're on a grass strip somewhere, and you parked on the grass, the cam lock's going to fall out, and you're going to spend an hour trying to find that one little cam lock somewhere in the grass at your feet. I've done it. Does it? No, the cam locks do not. The cam locks will fall out. Even though you're supposed to use a cam lock pliers and pop them in there, and the little ears hold on to that 1/4" hole, they'll rattle around and they'll work themselves out, and they'll fall on the ground when you least expect it.
So if you just drill at 5/16, then you just take it out.
We got to do 5/16.
Where was your step drill or bit?
Oh, the bit holes to 5/16. Actually, Don, you need to do your top 3 also,
Which one you want?
because you'll put cam lock bodies in there
Okay, so they're
too.
gonna be drilled out,
Same thing.
same drill bit, same width.
And we have 3 up here.
What about that?
A block?
Builders.
Okay. That's pretty sharp. That's good news.
First, and then where'd my little, there we go. So what I talked about before, I've countersunk these holes here. We're just going to put a silver Cleco in, hold it in place. 3/32 countersunk rivet, so it's got a flat head, countersunk sides on it. Just put it in place.
And you had countersunk that.
Yes. I just used a deburring tool. I mean, you can go get a micro stop if you want to, but for this stuff, it's pointless, overkill. Okay, somebody have another 3/32 rivet. We got one got away from me.
Probably stuck to the magnet back there.
Okay, there we go.
1/4" for the male, 5/16 for the
There you go. And she's in there.
Can we throw the cover on and try the action?
Sure, we can do that.
We gotta drill these ones out though.
Oh, let's see if that's going to fit with those. Yeah, it should. Okay. There you go. And just push it in and turn. It's usually a 1/4 of a turn in. There you go. All right. One other thing, the cam locks, like I said, come in different lengths, say 4, 5, 6, up through 14. That's the length of the screw in there. Now this one's sitting out just a hair, and if you're really trying to get a perfect finish down the side, if it's putting in the next larger size puts it out even farther, or the next smaller size, you can't get it in there correctly, what you can do is shim the back side of the cam lock body inboard a little bit. Just put a little piece of 016, 020 that you may have hanging around the shop. You can shim it, drill that cam lock body out, shim it out, and like a number 5 will fit just a little bit tighter in there. Where a number 4 wouldn't go in there at all, but the number 5 kind of looked bad. Again, overkill. We've never had a Zenith ever win an award at Oshkosh that I know of. But, it's just whatever you want to do.
You want to get a piece of 3/4 plywood, and then on the back side get a 1/4-inch plywood piece or some Luan, and then you make a ring on the back side. Could be an inch and a half in diameter or thick or whatever. Purpose of that is so that when you put your alignment tool, this is an alignment tool to attach the cowling with, and you don't have to use all 6 holes, but you got to use at least 3 of them, and then find some bolts 13 millimeter that fit snugly in the holes so that the unit is perfectly centered on the engine. Or you can use your propeller bushings and smaller bolts to align the disc to the holes in the engine flange. Now, as you can see, the part of the 3/4 inch goes right up against the propeller hub itself, and then the 1/4 inch plywood brings the cowling back from there another 1/4 inch, and that's your spinner gap. Now, if you want a little bit more than a 1/4 inch, you feel free to do that, but we're going to try to stay with a 1/4 inch between the spinner and the cowling. Once you have that done, if you're working by yourself, set up some, we just use a couple of gas cans, but you can make something out of wood, maybe a sawhorse on each side, or just some blocks of wood that you can lay the cowling on while you're working on the front. This is a nose wheel airplane, and as you can see just by looking down into the cowling, we cut away a little bit for the nose wheel, and you're going to have to trim that back until it doesn't touch anymore. Now with a tail dragger, of course, that's not an issue. You'll find that you'll have some overlap onto the airplane, and you won't be able to get the cowling into place immediately. It needs to come up more, but of course it's laying on the bottom of the fuselage. That's not going to happen quite yet. And then it also overlaps the sides a little bit. So that's why we try to keep the cowling from touching anything back here. Keep it so that it's loose, and then put some wedges here so it can move, yet it's all the way up where it needs to be. So we have to put something more here for ourselves. And then the same on the other side. Make sure that it doesn't touch the engine down in here. We do not have our radiator installed here, simply because we don't have one right now that is assembled. But it's a good idea to have the radiator in there. Then you can check for clearance around the radiator as well, and the cowling. Now, it goes the same on the other side. Keep the cowling free and all the way up. Then what you do is you initially, even after you cut for the nose wheel, you need to slide the cowling back further and then up. Now this can be hard sometimes because it needs to clear this disc and eventually the spinner. Now you can cheat a little bit on the inside here by cutting away the corners. In fact, you can go almost as wide as the spinner, maybe in a 1/4 inch, and you can trim away some of this material right in here. See, we didn't trim very much, but you can trim more in order to be able to get the cowling back and up enough. So that's another little trick. Now we got this clamped in place. We made a center line, a vertical center line. This horizontal line is nothing. That's from a previous project. But we made a vertical center line and transferred it into the cowling just to give us some reference points to what center is. And the next thing we will do is we will use a level to level, see what 0 is as far as horizontal, and we'll draw a line here as well, and then we will line up each side of the cowling until it's level. And that gets the basic start as far as knowing where to start to align the rest of the cowling. Then as we work our way back, we're going to show what we're doing, but the basic principle is that as you're working, you want to make sure that you don't have any load on this up front here. You know, if this is clamped down and you try to you trim this and it's a little bit short and you try to move it up to it, then the first thing that's going to happen is when you're done, you take these clamps off and it'll like go apart, and you have a really strange gap up front. So what I suggest is, you know, you could put the hinges in here that are going to go onto the fuselage. You put a couple of clecos in, disconnect the clamps, see what it looks like, adjust it slightly, and keep moving back and forth between the clecos. Don't be afraid of having a few extra holes here, because you can fill that at the end with a little bit of fiberglass. Okay, so we have the cowling trim now on the bottom and on the side, so that with no force it fits perfectly in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the piano hinge arrangement that's on the airplane and cut a piece of hinge and put it inside here. I cut it with one link extra on the bottom, and I'm going to come up from the bottom like this with the hinge pin and install the hinge with the flat side out onto the YX airframe. Once that's in, we can lift this up and we can mark where we're going to cut a little slot in order to be able to pull the pin in and out. So we're just going to make a little opening right here. Don't have too many tools over here where we're working, but we have something here that's going to work. I'll move this out from the airplane a little bit and make the slot. you can pull the pin out and in, and then it'll keep the pin from coming out when you're in flight. And the next thing you want to do is get the cowling all the way up into the bottom corner. You can use your knee, make sure that's up in there. You can put a pair of vice grips up here, and we don't have any right here, so I'm going to use my fingers. Drill through the cowling and then pull the hinge out. Pull the cowling into position where it goes. And then put one hole and one cleco right there. And what I'm doing is I'm just marking the hole. That's just so that I don't elongate the hole in the fiberglass. And then we can cleco that in place. And then verify that everything is where we want it. Of course, we have the opportunity still to move it a little bit because we've only drilled one hole. But there it is. And then this, of course, would then be the release of the cowling. And we only have one cleco in there, but once we get this drilled evenly all the way down, and then cleco, then we can take it apart, or we can even just remove a cleco at a time and countersink and put pop rivets in. And since we don't have countersunk rivets for the rest of the airplane, we could also just go ahead and use regular rivets, which would be stronger for the fiberglass, since we don't have a lot of thickness to work with. And then after that, we're going to put pins on the bottom as well, short pins, one on each side. Okay, so we're removing the clamps, and you can see the cowling is still kind of fitting right there. It's we didn't move the cowling at all from removing the bolts, so that's good. It should turn out good. We don't really need this disc anymore. I'd rather put the propeller on and the real spinner bulkhead at this point, because then I can fit the top cowling, relying on what is going to be there permanently as the end result, rather than this disc that might or might not be perfect. But we know that if we fit it, the bottom cowling using our disc, and then the top cowling using our propeller, then the end result's going to be nice. The cowling installation has been almost completed on this YX. The process, what we've ended up with at the end is a cowling that uses piano hinges along the side and piano hinges on the level and the vertical. We've got a fuel cutout out here. We have not installed the door. That's up to the builder if you want to maybe hinge it here on the metal, or if you want to hinge it, put a doubler underneath here out of metal, and then put a hinge and a metal door. So that's very standard. It's not something we have to cover, but you do need a fuel door, of course. The thing that happens with this cowling as it leaves the airplane at a different angle is that if you do want to separate the engine compartment from the fuel area, down inside here you'll see that the surface is no longer going all the way up to the cowling. And if you want that to be this box that Sonics provides, if you want it to be all the way up to the cowling, you'd have to extend that. Now, as far as this lip along here, not being exactly at the right angle to the cowling, again because this cowling goes forward more than it does down. It is of no consequence or no concern really, because we're not adding any fastener to the top. You might want to put some chafe tape underneath to keep it from rubbing. Spruce sells some cowling chafing tape, but it's kind of thick. If you can get away with the thicker type of tape, which we could here because the fiberglass is lower than the plexi, then we would put that underneath there, and the cowling would then lay on top of that. We're not using any fasteners here. As the cowling was installed originally, this was all pulled tight so that it would look nice. Now, after the cowling was completely installed, we removed the original hinge pins and we went with these much thinner Teflon coated pins that install super easy. These are very expensive. They're from McMaster-Carr. They have Teflon on them. You could also just use regular piano wire. This one's about 70 thousandths versus 80 thousandths of the original. And what we do is we grab the fuel door area and we pull the cowling down so that the two hinges meet, and then this pin goes in very easy in comparison to the original. There's no fighting it at all. And then once that's in, I might have to move this a little bit up front here. Then it's kind of locking because there's a groove here where it really can't just come back out. We haven't seen them come out anyhow. You don't have to make an elaborate locking mechanism, because once there's air pressure inside the cowling, the pin won't move. Now here, we don't have a hinge, but we do have a hinge down here, and the pin is installed from the bottom. So the pin is down here, and it goes up. And then there are two short pins, hey Leo, underneath the cowling. And they are as original, but they end up being a little shorter because the amount of cowling underneath there is shorter than on the Sonic's cowling. There's a bigger opening for the engine. We've got a cutout for the oil cooler up front here, and we've found that it's not that particular as far as the kind of opening. We just kind of like this. We use two different sizes of carbide hole saws and then just drew in the middle. And this hole here lays on top of the thin area of the radiator. This one's in front of it. That way any air that starts to enter here will have a chance to go through the oil cooler. We have left it completely open in the front here as far as air being able to kind of spill around a little bit. Any air that does go this way, however, is captured by the shroud on the oil cooler that's back here. And those are the kinds of things when you do a couple of flights, if you do have too high of an oil temperature, which we don't, but it's actually too low, you can baffle this area in the front here with metal, pop rivet to the cooler shroud and close that in a little bit. But we have not seen that to be necessary. So we're going to leave it alone and keep it nice and simple. And that's the same with the inlet for the radiator. Your engine is provided with a aluminum shroud that just glues to the radiator area with the right stuff sealer. And then, but no effort is made to put silicone baffle material forward of it. Whatever air gets captured in here goes through the cooler. Some of the air will find its way around. And in fact, it becomes a high bypass air around the cooler, and it helps to draw air through the cooler. So in essence, the cooler itself with the shroud becomes an air cooling system without having to rely on the cowling to draw air through the cooler. Air spills by, creates low pressure on the backside of the cooler, and the system works. Now, the cowling comes with a fairly large bottom lip underneath, and on our prototype here we've cut that down to half of what it was, and we're going to leave it that way until we get to the middle of the summer and read temperatures then. But as of right now, the airplane's cooling extremely well. We've got as you can see, this is a prototype, and this gets closed up here. We put some rivets. We did not run the piano hinge further than here. It's just difficult to get the rod around the corner, nor was there any need for support of the two cowling halves in front of here. This is so rigid that there's no need to have the hinge go all the way around the corner. The propeller is a 62-inch warp drive with the straight blades. This is the only propeller that we have tried that actually works on this airplane. The challenge is that the gearbox, having a 2.33 to 1 ratio, produces a lot of torque in compared to a direct drive engine. While this torque has to be absorbed by the propeller, and we tried other brands and we put the amount of pitch in that we needed. And in fact, if you look at one of the blades directly from the side, you can see how much pitch is actually introduced into the blade. And it's 20 degrees at the tip. So after you mount your propeller, you want to use your warp drive protractor and zero it against the prop hub, and then put it out here and turn the blades for 20 degrees. That's an all-around compromise for this airplane. Using this propeller, it will give you adequate climb with 2 people on a hot day, and it'll also give you a really, really respectable cruising speed. Top speed of 170 miles an hour and a cruising speed of 150 to 155 miles an hour, depending on how clean the airplane is. The other types of propellers, we found that they stall at that kind of an angle, and you will have problems with even taxiing. You end up having a lot of RPM, and due to the blade stall. This particular blade on the warp drive propeller and this combination, 62 inches, a non-tapered blade, 3 blades, and from the testing we have done, this is absolutely perfect, and it works great. The spinner is a spinner that's available from Viking, and it goes with the cowling. It's a matched diameter. We have found that the spinner works really well. There's a couple of things to watch out for. One is make sure that the bolts that go through your propeller come from the front towards the back. Make sure you put the spinner bulkhead on the front of the propeller. And when you do, make sure that none of the bolts for the propeller is actually touching the spinner bulkhead, because you will have warpage. And then put the propeller crush plate that warp drive provides with the propeller instead of the large washers that sometimes are supplied with this spinner in front of the spinner bulkhead. So when you have your setup, you'll put the propeller on first. The procedure is put the propeller on, set your blade pitch. When everything is done and you get your blade pitch set according to warp drive, then you can remove the large bolts from the center of the propeller, and you have, in essence, a propeller that where the blades have been set, and you can remove it and the blades won't change pitch because the outer bolts are holding it. Now, after that's done, you have a 20-degree pitched propeller, and now it's essentially a fixed pitch propeller. At that point, the propeller goes on, then this goes on, then your crush plate, your 1/4-inch plate goes in front of that, then all the bolts go through and they get torqued and safety wired according to warp drive's bulletin there. And then the spinner dome is set on the outside of that. Make sure you watch for a little mark in the spinner that it lines up with the dome so you don't throw it off balance, because it's balanced as a unit. And then even though the spinner doesn't come with washers for the screws, we put washers on them because otherwise it's going to dig into the fiberglass over time. And a blue Loctite, a little bit of blue Loctite on each of the screws. Other than that, there's not too much to be said about the cowling. Take your time to fit it, obviously, to make it look nice. First thing is to mount the spinner, or a wooden plate to replace the diameter of the spinner, and then mount the cowling to make it fit in the front. Now, you want a little bit of clearance here. If you make it too tight, it's just going to make everything difficult when you remove and replace the cowling. And also for a nose wheel airplane, of course, you have to make a cutout for the nose wheel. And if we look at this one, you can kind of see what the length of the cut needs to be. As you see here, it almost looks like it doesn't have to be cut because of this. It would possibly even clear. The problem is you have to be able to get the cowling on and off the airplane. So the cowling sometimes have to be pushed back a little bit, or when the cowling is lower, as you can see this leans forward, then this cutout is necessary in order to get the cowling on and off the airplane. And then the exhaust, before you can even try to put the cowling on, you're going to have to figure out approximately where to cut the exhaust pipe hole. Sometimes the easiest way is to remove them completely, and remove the muffler from the engine, and then fit the exhaust, and then measure down from the engine where the cutout hole would be. Let me show you just how quick it is to remove this cowling if it's installed this way, or particularly the top one, how easy it is if you just do it the way that we are showing it, because it only takes like a second to do it, and rather than having large holes and doors and stuff on the cowling, you can just pull the entire top off when you do your pre-flight, to see your coolant level, to check your oil tank level, just spin the cap off and look down inside with a flashlight. You can basically just inspect everything by taking the top off. And even after a flight, when you're on cross countries, you can, if you look down inside it, you can see how much room there is for the air exit. And what we do is when we go on cross country flights, we'll just stick our head up inside there, and you can pretty much see the whole engine as far as checking for leaks, or I don't know, funny smells, or a loose belt back here, or anything. So between being able to remove the top occasionally and being able to look up underneath, there's really no need to have access doors for anything other than maybe for the fuel. First, pulling the bottom off, there are pins underneath. I'm going to back this one off and pull this one out, and then I'm going to show you on the other side what I just did on this side. We've got one pin underneath here, and pull that back just a little bit. What I did is I left some of the original hinge that goes all the way to the middle so that the pin will stay there. And then these, if you use the lightweight pins, they'll pull out really easy too. And then you can support the cowling and lower the front of it. And here's why it's a little bit, why it's nice to, well, turn your prop so that one blade is straight up. And it's nice now to have some gap here, or you're going to have a hard time getting the propeller down and around. But with some gap, and also maybe like right here, you see that we've trimmed the corners. And you can trim those corners as much as you want, as long as, it doesn't show in the front of the spinner. And that helps lowering the cowling and get it to clear the spinner behind there. And then at that point, it's easy to just feed it through. That's going to be even easier if you're a tail dragger, and you won't have to get around the nose wheel, which we have to contend with here. You can see the bottom hinges. What we did is we put a very short piece on each side, yet the Sonex airframe has a mating hinge that goes all the way to here. What we do is we leave that on the airplane, and we keep a long pin, and it's only engaging this on 3 or 4 loops. But it's a neat thing because you can pull the pin out, and then the pin stays with the airplane. You don't lose it, and this still gets disconnected. This hole is because we, on the prototype, put our batteries in slightly too far to the edge of the airplane. The batteries need to be moved in a little bit, and we'll show you that. And then you don't have to do that trimming on the cowl.
Okay, this is the cowling part of it. If you read the book, it'll have you set up the top cowling so this line is even with this horizontal line,
If you put the cowling on there, it won't fit because it's too short. So, what I started with this, and what you got to do is, since it's come out of a fiberglass mold, these corners right here, if you were to mate them together, they really don't mate up too well. And so what I wound up doing was cutting the inside back. What I wound up doing was cutting this back about this on the bottom cowl. So you wind up with this good rigid corner. And then got it so it mated right up nice and tight. And here, and once I got it mated nice and tight, then I would cleco, drill and cleco here and here. And at that point, that's all I did. And then if you were to take the top cowl and look and sight down the top of it, or the edge line, it's not straight by a long ways. This one's pretty good. The one we had was even worse. And I wound up taking a flat file and working this down flat. And then this line here come out of the mold. In fact, you can see there's a little dip right there. You know, if you're a good fiberglass man, you could probably do that, but what I wound up doing was cutting the cowl to match this line. So with the two clecos here, I would take a clamp and clamp the back of the cowl, the top cowl here, and I came down from the break line 1/4 of an inch and drew a line as a reference. And then I can measure up on the top cowl where that line was, and then I would take that file and work down that top cowl till it fit. And then after I got it to fit, then you come along, figure out your spacing, put your clecos in. Then you had the whole unit or the unit as a whole.
And this is all off of the aircraft?
This is all off the aircraft before it even goes on the aircraft. Then once we got that all together, we took and put it on the aircraft and get out the old duct tape and tape it on. And originally the bottom of this cowl here came back clear to this rivet line. And so, and then I took a marker, drew a line down where the back of the cowl was. We took it off, and then I measured from there to the edge of the cutoff on the inside. That way I knew where the front of it was and how much, and I measured back so I knew how much room I had to play with to put the cowl. Then we put it back on, duct taped it up, stand up front and get in front of it, wiggle it around, get it to where you want. Now, one of the things on this engine, if you stand in front of this engine's offset about 3 degrees that way, and I don't know how much down. So you have to kind of, so actually if you look at the center line of the airplane, the prop's probably sitting all off to the side. So we kind of wiggled it around and got it so it was fairly as close to being symmetrical as we could get it. And then when we got it right where we wanted it, we duct taped it down, fastened it down, and then started. Probably the first hole we drilled was right here in the corner where the two cowls come together. Right here, where they overlap. Drilled that, clecoed it, and then worked our way up, and then I worked our way down. Then after that, we set up, like, take a piece of tape and figure out how far in front of this rivet line you want your cowl, and you know how much space to get, and we kind of marked it off. Cut it off with a cutoff tool, worked it down so it's flat, and if you stand off to the side, you'll get a nice line that you want, and it was a done deal. And then when we get done, we'll drill these out, countersink them, and use probably number 8 lock plates and number 8 countersunk screws. And the only other thing you've got to do is when you get done with this, you've got to take the top cowl off. On the NACA duct on this side over here for the oil cooler, you're going to have to put in, there's a scoop that goes on the inside in here that hooks up to the oil cooler, and it doesn't fit very well as it comes out of the box. So you're going to have to kind of cut and trim it when you get it where you want it. Take the bottom cowl off, get some fiberglass and some mat, and just glass it in. You know. And don't worry about being pretty, because nobody's going to see it on the inside either. Yeah, and then you got to put a scat tube between that and the oil cooler. But it'll take about an hour and a half to get these two fit together. Things what we did when we put the two halves together, I put a stool under here and blocked this up, and it's actually right up against the radiator in the front. And we'll have to put some cork in there so it doesn't. And then if you're going to use a spinner, make sure you get it back far enough that you got some clearance here. But when you file, yeah, ideally if you have a spinner, put the spinner on first. And then,
If you have a spinner.
yeah, some guys use the little skull cap spinners, and some of them are these, you know. And then when you file this, lay this down on a table and work the file this way. This way you start taking out all the whoopie-doos. These are a body file of some sort. They're really kind of sharp, good for work for plexiglass and fiberglass, and they're hard on fingernails. They do bite. But work it this way and you'll work it out. And then on some of them, depending on how they trimmed them out of the mold, sometimes this edge here will be long, and I've had sometimes it'll start interfering on the inside. You kind of nip it off on the inside. Leave yourself about an inch or so you can put your lock nuts in there, lock plates in there. And I also on the book they tell you on the older cows you had to make a cutout here for the nose wheel. Well, this is a new cow and it clears it. There's no need. And it fits right up there. It's really not too bad. Then the only thing that you have to do when you get done is figure out you've got to cut a hole in here for an oil door so you get into your oil reservoir.
Oh, a door?
The door, yeah. There's two pieces of aluminum that they have. They have one for a frame and then one for the door. You have to kind of position it. You have to make it big enough because you got to get in and undo that oil door. It takes a pretty good hand to get in there and get to it. Yeah. This fits in like this, and like I say, it really doesn't fit very well. You'll kind of have to put it on there and position it to where you want it. Maybe trim some of this back, and then, huh?
Glass view.
Yeah, and then glass it in. Some guys use some of that 5-minute epoxy, but these things are not really flat and straight. And usually what I do is put a little 5-minute epoxy in it, get them in straight where I want them. After they dry, then I glass it.
Then, get them where you want them. That's good.
And then when you're all done, you're going to have to go in here on where the radiator is and figure out where the radiator, because you want to open this hole up a little bit to get more air, as much air as you can into that radiator on the bottom down there.
Now, do you put cork around the radiator like we did for the
Yeah, it hits up front right here at the top of the tank. We'll put some cork in there, and because if you look in there now, it's hitting the top of the radiator, but it's not hitting at the bottom. And so any place that it might rub, you want to put a little.
Is there any other?
One thing about the Rotex engine with the water-cooled heads, it's straight in and straight out. No bull baffles, no